This is the part of business, it's called customer discovery. You have to discover your customer. What is their pipeline? How do you sell to them? You have to become what I like to say is customer or consumer obsessed. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rochelle Shea, and I am here to share my journey as a tech founder and share lessons and tips and tricks that I've learned along the way that could potentially help other entrepreneurs and other founders. So welcome to my channel. Since this is my very first video, I kind of want to introduce myself and share why I got into the education technology field as an entrepreneur, and then I want to share some lessons that I've learned along the way that could potentially help someone else. So I am an EdTech founder. I've secured over $227,000 in scholarships, and along the way I've also secured over 10 to 12 internships at companies like IBM, Johnson & Johnson, Amazon, and so many more. And at the time I thought it was completely normal. I thought every student knew how to get scholarships and get internships, but I realized that wasn't always the case. So I took the knowledge that I've learned and developed technology companies specialized in education support. So we support students from middle school through post-secondary education with scholarships, college, career, and post-secondary readiness. And we do that for multiple reasons: to streamline counselors' workloads, to support students, and help decrease the student loan debt in America. On average, every student that is graduating from college has about $30,000 in student loans. And that is just so sad, especially when you're graduating college, you're new to the world, you don't know really what you want to do, or you may not be able to find a job in your field, and now you have this hefty student loan bill that you have to pay back. On top of that, there are over $100 million in scholarships annually that goes unclaimed. So people are giving money out, but the problem isn't that students don't want it, is they don't know where to look. So that is why I'm here. I'm here to help close that gap, to share my knowledge and information that I know about scholarships, college, and career, and package it all up in a technology platform and license it to school districts across the world to help students, faculty, staff, and parents. So that's me, that's my why. But for the purpose of the video today, I want to share some lessons that I have learned along the way of being a tech founder, specifically B2B is what I'm in. But these tips and these lessons can help anyone. If you are a business owner or you want to become a business owner, these lessons will save you a lot in the long run. So here are 5 things that I've learned along the way of being an entrepreneur. Number 1, focus more on the problem that you're solving rather than the product or solution that you're selling. And let me break this down. Let me give you an example. So in education, as I mentioned, the problem is that on average, students are graduating college with about $30,000 in student debt. They're having difficulty finding jobs in their career field. And if they are finding jobs in their career field, they have to worry about paying back that hefty student loan bill. I would say that's a problem. And how am I solving that problem? Well, I'm not necessarily focusing on what my product or what my solution is, because my product or solution doesn't matter if the consumer isn't buying it. And what I mean by that is, if you decide, I want to solve a problem by helping entrepreneurs learn about business. Okay, well, your solution may be, I'm going to write a book on business, on how to become a really, really good business owner, and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to put it in a hardcover book, and I'm going to put it online. I'm going to sell it. But what if entrepreneurs are like, well, I don't have time for a hardcover book. I might want to read something on the go, or I might want to listen to something as I'm driving or if I'm working. So the problem is, this is where lots of business owners get confused and where they may not do as well in business. They're married to whatever product, whatever services that they're offering versus being married to the problem that they're solving. It doesn't matter what package your product or your service comes in, as long as it's getting delivered. It's solving that specific need. So focus more on what the problem is that you're solving rather than the product or solution or product or service that you're selling. Because realistically, In the world of business, you're going to change your product, you're going to change your service so many times. When I first started, I was doing digital flashcards, I was doing ebooks, I was doing planners. They were all solving the problem, but it was the format the products and service came in that just didn't make it work. Now I'm in the third, fifth rebuild, and now I'm more focused on technology. But again, don't focus on what your product is. Focus on what the problem is that you're solving. I recommend doing market research, researching the problem. Why is this a problem? What are their pain points? What are ways to solve it? Brainstorm solutions to solve that problem versus creating a product. The product is, who cares what your product is realistically? We just want you to solve our problem, and we want to do it in a solution that is easy, that is quick, and that can really be effective. So that's my first tip. Focus on the problem that you're solving, less versus focusing so much on your actual product or solution. And when you do that, that helps you become a good entrepreneur. That helps you become a good business owner, because over time, things change. Lesson number 2, create founder habits. Whatever your habits are, think about it and think to yourself, is the habits that I have now, are they producing results in my business? I'll give you an example. A habit that I have is that I like to plan out my day, and I like to make notes of everything that I have to do. That's a productive habit for me, because as I continually write out my ideas and plan out my schedule, consistently doing that, that allows me to stay on task with deadlines. That reminds me to connect with school district leaders. That reminds me to do community events. Whatever it is I'm doing as a business owner, I make sure my habits reflect that. If you don't know what your habits are, I recommend getting a list and just write down things that you do consistently and acknowledge those things. Read into them. Find your favorite business tycoon, your favorite entrepreneur. Look into what they're doing. Try to take an estimated guess on what you think their habits are and mirror what they're doing in your life and in your business. Don't copy what they're doing. Look at what they're doing, analyze what they're doing, and mirror it in your life to make sure it kind of reflects you. So in a way, study them, see what they're doing, see what their habits are. If your favorite person gets up every morning and works out, or makes all their cold calls in the morning, or does this or do that, look at that, and then look at it how you can probably incorporate that in your life and follow it simply. Study that, understand that. That way you can build successful founder habits that will help you progress in your career as an entrepreneur. Lesson number 3, fail fast and fail cheap. That has been the mantra of my entire journey of entrepreneurship. When I first got into business, I didn't want to fail. I thought failure means I lost, try again, terrible. In reality, you want to fail, and you want to fail fast. Fail in the beginning when it's cheap to come back from. Entrepreneurship is not easy, it's not free, it's not cheap. It costs time, it costs money, it costs everything. So fail fast and do it while no one's really looking. In the beginning, you are still discovering who you are as a founder. You're discovering what your business is going to be like. You're discovering who your target audience are. You don't really know specifically what you're even offering. So try it all. Try it all, but try it strategically. And if you fail, then you know what not to do. The best way to learn and to really value your wins, to really understand and know what you're doing, is to fail. I'll give you an example. As a tech founder, I primarily focus on B2B partnerships. So I go after school districts across the great state of Texas, South Carolina, and other states as well. That is my audience. That's my target audience, my customers. When I first was trying to get a partnership, I didn't know anything about prospecting. I didn't have official processes in place. I didn't have a business proposal. I didn't have anything. All I knew was I had a product, I had the knowledge, I knew what the problem was, and I had an ideal buyer that I was trying to test to see if I had product market fit. So I called the district. I connected with the individuals that I knew. I went into the meeting. I presented my slideshow presentation the best way I knew how. And then they were like, okay, well, do you have a business proposal? At the time, I did not have a business proposal. But what did I say? I said, yes, I had a business proposal. So I did that, and I just started doing things as I was going. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to start. And me knowing that, I was open to failing. I went through with it. I submitted the business proposal, but it took so much effort, and it took courage of me going up to a school district saying, hey, I have this problem. I have this product. How can I get it in your district? Fortunately for that deal, it was successful. But one thing that I personally noted in my business that I failed at was customer relation. How to continuously keep the conversation going, how to keep that momentum going with partnerships. And as I continue to call districts, there's been times that I've called school districts and I completely missed the mark. I didn't even get a second time to meet with them. I didn't do well in my presentation, whatever it may be. I have failed so many times. The biggest thing you want to do is acknowledge those failures. I remember last year, I'm not going to name the school district. I pitched a school district out here. I knew the meeting wasn't going very well, but I pitched the school district. I had the product. I already had a partnership with another school district. And when I came out here, they said, no, we're not partnering with you this year. To me, that was a failure because I'd worked so hard. I worked so hard on getting a meeting. That's the hardest thing for me, was getting a meeting with this district. I finally got a meeting. I tried to present, but the technology wasn't working. So I couldn't put my presentation on the board. So what I had to do was sit there and just talk. And I did terrible, in my opinion. I didn't do the best way I could. So I failed. But what I took from that no was not that no, never, was next opportunity. So instead of me taking that no and just saying, forget it, I took that and I said, okay, thank you for the opportunity. Can I pitch you next year? So I asked to continue to keep that relationship going. Of course, they told me, yes, I can pitch. So what I did was I had a year. I had 1 year to implement changes, to make feedback, to understand why I didn't get that yes. So once I got their interest in pitching again next year, the second question was, what feedback can you give me? Why did you all decide not to move forward with the partnership? And they gave me so much feedback. And instead of taking that feedback and crying about it or just beating myself up about it, I took it as a learning opportunity. What I thought I was clear on, they didn't understand. So I took all the feedback that they gave me and I implemented it into my business the following year to repitch them. So that is what we mean by failing fast and failing cheap. I was still at the very beginning of my startup, and I was still figuring out who I am as a founder, what my business will stand for, and what I'm actually trying to do. But I took that and I've learned. And the more you fail, the more you're going to learn and the more credible that you will be as an entrepreneur, because you understand what it's like to not get a yes. And then when you do get that yes, you're more grateful. You're not going to fumble it or let it fall between your fingers. Lesson number 4, start over often and rebuild. I like to think of that as innovation. As you grow as an entrepreneur, as you grow as a person, you're going to want to rebuild and consistently be innovative. One new thing is AI. We know AI has been the center of attention forever, is what it seems like. But you have to be open to rebuilding your business. When I first started my business, I was not in tech. I was in education, but I wanted to educate on every topic under the sun. You see these gurus online that talks about financial freedom. They talk about investing. They talk about this. They talk about that. They are a jack of all trades, right? wrong. And I'm gonna tell you why. When I first started, I wanted to talk about everything. I wanted to educate on everything. But the more you do, the less credible you are. Take it or leave it. The more you do, the less credible you are. And I had to understand that. And understanding that, I rebuilt my entire business. I moved away from trying to be good at everything to be good at one thing or one or two things. That was me realizing what I was doing wrong and being open to rebuilding and starting over. I don't care how long you've been in business, you have to consistently rebuild and be innovative in what you're doing, or you're gonna fall behind. So I took that and I rebuilt my organization. I focused on one particular niche. And when you do that, you really find what you're good at, and you really find the people that are gonna benefit from it. So don't be afraid to rebuild, and don't be afraid to start over, because in that process of starting over and rebuilding, that is probably where you'll be more successful, because you've understood that, you've done the research, and you have the courage to do that. Okay, my very last lesson that I learned, lesson number 5, is listen to your clients or your customers. As an entrepreneur, sometimes, most of us, not all of us, but a few of us may think we know it. We know it all. We're our own customer. We don't care. As a consumer, as a business owner, as whatever you want to call it, they don't care what you like. You're not selling to you. You cannot sell to yourself. You have to sell to your client or your customer. So that means listening to what your client or your customer wants. You can like the color blue, but blue may not sell. They may want green. You may not like green, but green brings in the money. As simple as that. So in business, and again, it goes back to kind of everything I've mentioned. Your customer comes first. Listen to what your customer is asking for. Listen to what they want, and then create something that benefits them. That goes back to being more focused on the problem, their pain points, and not focusing on your product or your services. Just because you like your product, you love your product, but your client or your customer may not like it as much as you do. So listen to what they're telling you, and they tell you that through feedback. They tell you that by not buying what you're selling. They tell you that they don't like it by not giving you any attention. So in those subtle cues, I want you to really sit back and analyze, is what I'm offering what my target audience want? And if you don't know what your target audience or your clients or your customer want, that is okay. That is where you research. That is when you take a step back from the business, or take a step back from always creating something new, and look at it. Who are your target audience? Where do they spend most of their time? What engages them? What excites them? What makes them want to spend more? Who are they giving their attention to? What are they buying? This is the part of business. It's called customer discovery. You have to discover your customer. What is their pipeline? How do you sell to them? You have to become, what I like to say, is customer or consumer obsessed. Think about it. What excites them and what do they want? And when you learn these things about your client or your potential customers, then you can create a product or a service or a solution that they're willing to buy. And once you know they're willing to buy it, you have something called product market fit. Your product fits in the market because the market wants it. So now you've identified whatever problem is you're solving, you have a solution, and it has product market fit. You have a successful business. So those are my 4 lessons and tips that I have learned along the way of being a tech founder. Again, this is not just specifically for those who are in tech. This is for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur. I hope this video was really, really helpful for you all. I hope you learned something that you didn't learn before. And I hope you take these lessons and apply it into your business and it becomes successful. Again, my name is Rochelle Lachey. I am a tech founder, and I am here to help you while also sharing and documenting my journey. Thanks for watching this video.